All right, I'm back. It is morning kick around on a Wednesday. I had a chance to go on the Sounder at Heart Nos Adietis podcast on Monday with Jeremiah O'Shan, and they do as good a job as anybody of covering a single team in American soccer. Sounder at Heart has been doing it for a long time. I think probably 15 years at this point. Jeremiah and I had a conversation about American soccer media. He invited me on to really ask a question, and I'm going to bring it over here to Morning Kick Around as well. And that question involves whether or not American soccer media is ready for the World Cup in 2026. Now, I think for me, the easy answer to that, and we'd be done here, and I'd have to end the show if I didn't expound on it, would be no. I don't think so. But there's also a lot going on sort of in that question, and it has a lot to do with where we are as American soccer, like what that even means. What is American soccer media? Now, I don't want to be too navel-gazy about this. I don't want to make this about me, although, again, Jeremiah had me on because I've been doing this since I started my blog in 2008. So I have something of a perspective. I've done the amateur blogging thing. That's where I got my start. I started an independent podcast. I then started a web show. I've worked for big corporate entities covering soccer. I've written for ESPN. I've had my stuff published all over the place in terms of writing. I've obviously been on Sirius XM FC for 10 years. That's a massive corporation who does a ton of different things content-wise and has a soccer channel. So soccer isn't central to what they do, but it's a part of what they do. And so you break this down. Yeah, you break this down into what kinds of soccer media we've got in the United States. You got corporate stuff, right? So ESPN covers soccer. They've got ESPN FC, which is largely video content. They've got writers. Jeff Carlisle is one of the OG American soccer reporters. Love what he does. Glad he's still there doing it. You got Ryan O'Hanlon, who writes on analytics and various things for ESPN. That's not always American soccer, what Ryan writes, and there are obviously lots of people at ESPN who are writing about non-American soccer. You've got The Athletic, which is obviously part of the New York Times now. They let Pablo Maurer walk, which is an insane thing to do, if you ask me. But they've got Paul Tenorio, they got Felipe Cardenas, they've got Jeff Ruder. Those are American soccer writers writing on American soccer. I'm glad they have a whole home for that. They have some podcasts I don't know about The Athletic. I just hung out with Taylor Rockwell, who does the Total Soccer Show. They're part of The Athletic, but even he was like, I'm not, he was like, we're just there, but it doesn't seem like they are pushing us. They're just part of the Athletic family of things. And I think that really kind of speaks to the piecemeal approach that a lot of these organizations have taken to American soccer. And I am specifically talking about American soccer because The Athletic now, and I think Pablo Maurer leaving The Athletic is part and parcel of a shift of focus at places like The Athletic, which started out with having beat reporters on every beat. That was their whole hook. What happened to that? They've got British editors over there now. Now, a lot of things are passed through a British sensibility and British coverage. And obviously they're very focused on the Premier League and breaking stories, David Ornstein, and all these things, right? Transfer stories and whatever else The Athletic is covering. And they do a very good job of that. I'm glad that, I pay for my Athletic subscription, even though I'm done with the New York Times, because of writers like that. Now, again, it's sort of like, is it just a second thought for The Athletic? Or is it a focus? Fox has got, obviously the TV guys. Alexi Lalas does his podcast there. You got Doug McIntyre writing at Fox these days. These are the big corporate operations, right? Then you've got things like Men in Blazers and their network, and there's a lot of American soccer over there. If you have been paying attention to the internet, you know that Kickback Media just launched, and that involves SoccerWise, which is a very MLS-focused podcast, and they do some women's soccer with Jordan Angeli. They've got a plan. I actually talked to the guy who founded that company the other day, and they've got a plan, and that's very interesting. Hopefully it works, right? They are focused on the American soccer fan, and they have a multi-pronged approach that I find fascinating. That something I've thought about, like how do we connect with fans who are new to the game in a way that doesn't That doesn't scare them off. Now, obviously, what we have right now, also in America, also around the world, but I think it's a major driver of things in America, is completely independent coverage of the game from a lot of DIY types. Now, again, I started as a blogger and a podcaster making my own stuff in my house, learning how to do that. That's very much the same ethos that runs through YouTube, for example. I mean, we're here, we're independent. There's no corporate backer. Love to have some people come in and support us, but we're not backed by any corporation. This is an independent effort. This is me and Rob and Jenny putting something out 3 times a week because we think there's space for it and because we get to talk about things that other people don't talk about. Did I forget to talk about USL Eugene on the show today? I think I did. I missed that. We'll come back to it. But you obviously have a ton of YouTube creators. A lot of them I don't even know. Like every now and then somebody will pop up on my feed that's got 1 million followers, a million subscribers. And I'm like, really? I had no idea that there was an American soccer channel on YouTube that had 1 million subscribers. And maybe that's on me for just not being aware of the ecosphere. But I also think it's just a function of how much stuff there is. There's so much stuff out there on YouTube in particular, podcasts, ubiquitous in our lives everywhere. I should absolutely mention, I mentioned the Total Soccer Show already. They've been going for 15 years, as long as I've been around. Taylor has been around. The Protagonist, right? That's a very solid outlet that covers lower division soccer from an independent perspective. I should mention Backheel as well. Backheel does a good job covering the lower divisions with John Morrissey, and obviously they've got MLS coverage and American U.S. men's national team coverage and stuff. And I guess what I'm kind of getting to is it's very niche. American soccer media is focused on individual topics aimed at specific fans, specific audiences. Like that, and that's better than nothing, right? Certainly it's better than nothing. Certainly, and it's you could argue it's much better than it used to be. Right? That we have moved into a world where people can make a YouTube channel or start an independent media organization and do okay. It still feels like it's all very fragile. Right? As long as the money is small, as long as there isn't a lot of sort of real investment behind it, all of this could go away tomorrow. Or individual shows, I mean, it's all just about what your willingness to do the work. Like I spent years independent, making a little bit of money writing and podcasting and having a day job. And the only reason I'm here today is because I just never gave up. I never quit on it. I never got to a point where I said I'm burned out or it's not delivering enough or the juice isn't worth the squeeze. It feels like we're maybe still in that world. Like we're still there. That's kind of still the mentality. It's just taken a different form. I do think that things have kind of shrunk a bit, at least if we're talking about the big operations. If we're talking about what is, I think we all had this sense that American soccer media was going to evolve to a place where it was very important to cover American soccer for the likes of ESPN and Fox and those kind of organizations. And it doesn't feel like that's the case. Now, maybe the pandemic has slowed things down a lot. I think, my relationship with ESPN ended because of the pandemic, largely. They just cut a lot of money because things were just different. And I was one of the people that didn't get to keep writing at ESPN. And, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about my writing these days. I have a newsletter. Have I mentioned that? Go look for Jason Davis Soccer Eagle and you'll find me on Ghost. I like writing for myself rather than writing for other people. So that's a good thing for me. But, there are fewer people writing. There's fewer jobs out there. It still feels like we haven't grown the professional ranks of American soccer people. And I'm frustrated by that. Like I'm a little saddened by that. And I also like what you like. I also don't love the fact that it seems as though a lot of money and attention and partnerships are going to people who are, what's the word I want to say? Opportunistic when it comes to American soccer. That they showed up, they brought a different culture with them, and instead of American soccer people trusting Americans to do soccer and us to make it our own in 100% complete cultural ways, we turn to other cultures and say, oh, how do you do it? Let's do it like that. Or that is the thing that gives people a sense that it should that it's better. Right? That there's a little bit of that, right? The idea that you are a little more legitimate in your fandom because the kind of soccer you like or the people you listen to come from a place where the game's more established. And I think that is interesting. Now, in terms of MLS, we got to talk about Apple before I run out of time. Apple and the deal that Major League Soccer signed with Apple has put MLS behind a paywall that restricts access and means that MLS struggles to be part of a general conversation. I said this when I went on Jeremiah's podcast, and please go listen to it. Support Sounder at Heart. I'm not sure that conversation is the same as it used to be, and I'm not sure if MLS would actually benefit that much from being available in a way that could conceivably mean it's part of a wider sports conversation. Like I think it'd be fairly simple to argue that the path that is available to MLS is limited by the fracturing of media in the world we live in. I mentioned the niche stuff, right? I know some of you guys are talking about how big YouTube is. Billions upon billions of people watching YouTube. Biggest broadcast outlet on the planet. And yet we're not talking about funneling those people to a few things or even 1,000 things or even 1,000,000 things. We're talking about in aggregate billions of people watching billions of videos. And if you talk about American soccer, there's no general conversation because it's a fractured environment. Even if you like the same thing as somebody else, you might watch different YouTube channels. You might consume different content. So how do we have a collective conversation? Now, X used to be the way to do that. X has lost its power for a lot of American soccer people. Some of you are probably still on X. I'm not. I think Blue Sky is trying to move on in that direction. I do think it's interesting that Kickback Media has partnered with Blue Sky because they're trying to make something happen there. But it all feels like we're just starting over, that we hit the reboot button on all this. And we are, less than a year away from the World Cup. Now, in terms of investment in the game from companies that want to maximize their reach with soccer fans, I don't think that's coming, or I don't think that's going to happen until we get closer to the World Cup. The draw is December 5th for the World Cup. That's just been announced. By the way, same weekend as MLS Cup Final, so that's interesting. MLS Cup Final on the 6th, the draw on the 5th in Vegas. So there will be a lot of soccer things happening. Will that be a problem? If you want to go to the draw, probably going to be tough to also go to MLS Cup. Linear TV's role in all this is certainly something to think about. I don't know. Again, there's no sort of universal theory here as what we're doing in terms of what we're doing. We just have a fractured American soccer environment. And I think my sense of this is that so much of the traditional media that covers other sports and makes it feel like those sports have a unified conversation is resting on a foundation that was laid 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. And this is sort of just an echo of that. And because, look, there's been an explosion of content around those other sports too, but there's still a couple of places that feel like the central hub for discussions about those sports. Major League Soccer, American soccer, definitely throw in the USL, NWSL. We don't have a hub. We don't have one place or two places or three places. ESPN has never really mattered in the same way it does for college football, for the NFL. Right? Any of the big outlets, none of them made soccer their own in a way that that felt like that was the hub. That was where everybody went for that's who was driving the conversation. If you are an NWSL fan, you may never interact with the same outlets that cover men's soccer in America. And I wouldn't blame you either, right? You want somebody who cares about that subject matter. You want somebody who knows what they're talking about. I mean, we could talk about this for hours. Your thoughts on American soccer media right now. Obviously, you guys are consuming Morning Kick Around. Thank you for that. If you're not a subscriber already, what are you doing? Hit the button, please. Please become a subscriber. Support the show. You can become an MK Ultra, become a member of the channel, get some perks, just a couple bucks a month. Access to the Discord. You can get access to the swap meet where I'm giving away all my stuff. I'm giving away my stuff, except for that plate right there. That's my kid made that for me. You don't get that plate. That's Tiago's hands and feet. You don't get Tiago's hands and feet, but you get everything else if you want it. That's a Tiago Alcantara pop guy. What do they call those things? I actually don't know. Somebody give that to me because my kid's name is Tiago. That's the only reason I have that. But you can have it if you want.
Pop figurine or something like I think it's pop figurine.
Hold on, you jumped in and you don't know? They're just called pop.
No, they're pop figurines. My sister-in-law collects.
Oh, Funko Pop. That's what I was looking for. Funko Pop.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Also, one more thing going back to the MLS soccer media. Is it really going to be that hard to attend the World Cup draw and the MLS Cup final? They're probably going to be in the same place like within a day of each other. That's just my prediction.
You mean what? I'm sorry. Oh, I see.
The MLS Cup final will probably be on a Sunday night, and the night before will be the World Cup draw in like the same city.
Oh, the World Cup draws in Vegas. We know that for a fact.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So there's no team in Vegas. Vegas can't make the MLS Cup final because they don't exist.
I'll go
one day, maybe. No. That's that you didn't know, and I didn't tell you, and now I'm telling you. The draw for the World Cup. Of course, it's happening in Vegas. Of course, it's happening in Vegas. And like, no disrespect to Vegas. I like Vegas. But that is, I don't know. It just doesn't, they do it in a city that's got a team. Do it in a city that's got, I don't know, something. It all feels very icky. All right. Give us your comments on soccer media. Again, support the show. Become a member of the MK Ultras. Get access to the Discord and all that. Coffee.com/morningkickaround, as you can see on the screen, is where you can you can contribute to our fund to get out amongst the people. We want to do a live remote in 2026, so we're raising money for that. We can also hit us up on Gmail. Let us know what you're thinking about with American Soccer, morningkickaround@gmail.com. We are encouraging manifestos. We are actually encouraging you to write a manifesto if you haven't already and send it to us, morningkickaround@gmail.com. I want to do like a compendium of manifestos. Like, I want to be like the central hub of American soccer manifestos right here. I think that would be incredible. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing a couple other things. A podcast. We are a podcast. You can listen to us be a podcast. Just search for Morning Kick Around, and you will find us. It is also maybe beneficial to the show if you go to Spotify, and you can watch the show as a video podcast on Spotify. Yay, do that. That is a thing you can do. I want to shout out all of the Ultras. So obviously Jay Hunt's been involved in the show today. Chris Sal says he just finished writing his manifesto. How fortuitous that I am asking for manifestos. I see a couple of Ultras in here. Oh, here we go. Crispy Doo 44 is an Ultra. Talking about the media situation. What is a big thing these days? That there will be people on various platforms that have large audiences that do not break through to be known outside these places. So that's part of the media discussion. Shout out to Crispy Doo for being involved in today's program. Again, be like those gentlemen, those people, and become an MK Ultra and support independent soccer media. There you go. Angus, also an Ultra. I can write a new manifesto every day. Angus, if you have that type of time, maybe be part of the team here at Morning Kick Around, because it feels like you could be helping us instead of writing manifestos. All right, that's going to finish it up for us here. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Morning Kick Around. We'll be back very soon with a new episode.